A New Hope, Nier Chapter 99. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel for listening and patreon.com/Azazyel to read all of Azazyel's stories. Come in. I heard Miss Goodwitch call out as I knocked on the door to her office. Walking in, I saw the blonde-haired woman had undone her blonde hair that she typically kept in a bun behind her so it could trail out in a wave of golden hair quite similar to Yang's. But as I took in the rest of the room, I noticed Commander White wasn't there or anything. When 2B explicitly told me that White wanted to speak with me. "Glynda, you wish to speak with me?" I asked, and I couldn't help but mentally cheer at the twitch of the woman's lips as she held back her reaction to me only using her first name and not using some honorific or respectful address. Glynda then set down her crop with a metallic clatter atop her wooden desk, and then she spoke. "Yes, indeed. Actually, no, Commander White decided to play a prank on the two of us, it seems," Goodwitch said, flushing lightly, but that was wrong. As I knew White and Goodwitch were good friends, with them being similar in so many aspects, and I knew White and Goodwitch were having a luncheon or whatever the hell that was. Pushing my hands into my pockets, I hummed in thought, chewing on the thought before I shrugged. I see. That's not at all like White to pull something as juvenilized as the equivalent of a ding-doing-ditch prank, I said, frowning. I guess I will go ask how she is doing then, I finished, and then turned to leave the office. Wait. Goodwitch called out, and I blinked in surprise when I turned back around, and the woman was biting her lower lip with a bit of pink filling her cheeks with color. Ahem, excuse me. But when White managed to talk me into doing something rather irresponsible, and with my head cleared, I felt quite embarrassed about it, so I didn't want to have it brought back up. She explained. I could only tilt my head to the side in confusion, as I had no idea what in the world kind of nonsense White would wrangle the disciplinary Glynda Goodwitch into. I see. I started before raising an eyebrow. Well, White is very experienced, as you well know, I said wryly, as Commander White was literally thousands of years old, and although her fellow androids weren't human, she still had enough social and life experience to know if someone was having issues. She was just looking out for, but if you don't want to do what she suggests, that's up to you, as she won't force it. I offered my advice. Glynda just huffed and began twirling one of her long golden tresses of hair in front of her. Well, that's just the thing. With Vital Festival and all the other things happening, I have been rather stressed, and it's not like I could legitimately just head off to Vale for some R&R with how Beacon would crumble if I was gone for a week. Goodwitch deadpanned before she smiled wryly. And thus, our mutual friend had the inappropriate idea for us to, as they say, hit the hay, to de-stress, but that would be a gross misuse of my position over you as both the vice mistress of Beacon Academy and just your teacher in general. I just face-bombed, groaning mentally at how Yoarha, and more specifically White and the other operator units, were assuredly pushing for this pairing as they did before with Yang Xiaolong for a while. You do realize I am the shadow overlord of the largest social media company in the world, and have pulled in during just a month alone, revenue equally a quarter of Vale's annual tax collection each year. If anything, if we slept together, it would be me abusing my position over you as a lower-ranked employee within my company due to you and Ashbin being spokespeople for Oracle. I riposted, and Glynda gaped before snorting as she trailed a finger across her mug of either dark tea or coffee, I couldn't tell. A man of a higher position after a lower-ranked employee. Takes me back to the steamy novels I used to read, haha. Glynda whispered, chuckling before she leaned back into her chair, sighing. For a moment there was silence, as I was unsure what to say before I just pointed to the long leather couch that students would lay upon to talk to Goodwitch about their training as hunters. Glynda, you sound stressed. Why don't I just give you a shoulder massage or something? I offered, and she raised an eyebrow as a smile crossed her face. Glynda then gracefully stood up and took a different seat, sitting backward in the seat so she could press her large chest into the back of the chair, and then pulled her long blonde hair in front of her to expose the smooth nape of her neck. Do I need to remove my top as well, Jake? Glynda asked humorously, making me chuckle as I rubbed my hands together to warm them up a bit. Nah, I can get through your clothes just fine, Glynda, I said softly as my warmed-up hands gently wrapped around the nape of her neck so I could work at the top of her neck where it connected to the crook of her neck, and she groaned as my thumbs gently began digging into the crease. Glynda hummed in surprised comfort as I filled my body with a tiny flicker of my flame magic, so my hands were a soft burning heat that massaged away any aches and pains she had in her upper neck before I started to move down to her shoulders. Then I began cheating as I alternated between using tiny jolts of electricity and hot hands to make Glynda moan out at how her body was seemingly melting into my hands. Ugh. Is this how you seduced Miss Schnee with these hands? Glynda moaned out, making me chuckle. No, typically my hands work their magic a little bit lower. I joked and Glynda snorted at my clear reference to her breasts that I could see a large amount of her cleavage with how I was sort of leaning over her as I worked at her shoulders. I was just down working out the kinks in the back of her shoulders and worked my way back up and to the front side of her shoulders when Glynda grabbed my hands that were working her shoulders and, in a moment, I couldn't mistake the familiar feeling of soft large, clothed breasts filling my hands. I will enlighten you, Jake, that I do not have plans to spend this evening in my quarters alone this evening. I request that you EPK. She squeaked as my hands massaged her covered breasts, but that layer of clothes couldn't keep out the warmth and weight of my hands that rolled her breasts within my grasp. Come on Glynda, let's retire to your quarters then, I whispered as I took her hand and pulled her to her feet so I could lift her. Her legs reflexively wrapped around my waist as I kissed her and began walking to the door in the side of her office.